Are you ready? Welcome to the 288th episode of News Dump, where we run through the hottest topics in the Lewis County news scene and discuss. I'm local man Aaron VanTuyl, joined by a very tired Chronicle editor, Eric Schwartz, and we're joined in spirit by sponsors Goebel Septic, The Roof Doctor, Americool Heating and Air Conditioning, CrossCounty Mortgage with Jacek, Gillispie, and The Farm Store. Do we need any preambles?
I don't think so. I don't really have anything. There's a big election update drop.
Our thoughts go out to the people in Spokane. How about that?
Yeah,
Is that fair?
Yeah.
I know you weren't going to mention it.
No. Brandon Hansen, Chronicle employee, freelance employee, former sports department guy. He's been over there giving you and I constant updates. I'm pretty sure we have the best coverage just in our messaging feeds from Brandon. But
he is doing a great job.
Horrible tragedy. When on Friday when they did that special weather statement, I was like, well, hopefully this is one of those like weather events that just doesn't come through. You know, like when they say it's going to be really windy here.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't. Everybody complains and mocks, but unfortunately, that was like a worst case scenario played out. And what a mess over there.
Yeah, very bad. All right. Election watch. I have the unofficial results up for Lewis County. Voter turnout is at 36%.
Okay.
And then I think we should go through the local races, and then we can get to some of the bigger multi-district.
That sounds good to me. We might as well start with the most interest, which I believe is Lewis County Sheriff race, right?
Let me scroll down to Sheriff on here. Sheriff Gabriel J. Frage currently has 36.17%, followed by Tracy Murphy at 34.18%, Matt McKnight 16%, Danny Reardon 12%. Your thoughts?
Well, I think like there's enough of a difference between Murphy and Fraze and McKnight and Reardon that you can go ahead and say that Fraze and Murphy are advancing to the general election. That way,
yeah.
And I think you could say between McKnight and Reardon so far, they've got about 5,600 and some change votes between them. Mm-hmm. And that'll kind of be the story, I think, is where supporters of those guys end up going. Are they going to be Fraze voters or are they going to be Murphy voters?
Yeah, and we were just talking about this, but I see Murphy as kind of a Murphy versus the field candidate. Mm-hmm. Like, if you are for Murphy, you're not voting for anybody else, and if you're not for Murphy, you are voting for somebody else.
Yeah, I don't know. If I just pure conjecture, but I don't know how much meat's on the bone. As far as the electorate and like what can be collected at this point, who hasn't made up their minds, which I think is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Murphy's been campaigning for essentially 5 years. Frage just kind of popped up 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's what kind of surprised me. I would say, like in our office pick'em that we did, as far as trying to call this thing, I bet you the most incorrect pick was picking these same two gentlemen to advance to the election, but having them in reverse position.
I think that's true, yeah.
I think a lot of people thought Murphy would be in first, which could still happen. I mean, it's only a difference of, less than, about 400 votes.
Yeah.
So it could still happen. But, yeah, I think most people had Murphy and then Frace probably at number 2. You got to be real happy if you're Gabe Frace, I would think, in this situation.
I don't see why it wouldn't be. My question, 274 write-in votes for sheriff. Who do you think they wrote in?
Well, you've seen it by now.
Jesus?
No, it's going to be Jimothy. I bet you Jimothy charts. So, unfortunately, the law changed. I wasn't aware, but the auditor's office let me know last year or the year before. We used to be able to, after every election, we would ask for the auditor's office, give us a list of all the write-ins, and you would get that. And it was always a fun thing. Everybody liked to read that. But I bet you Jimothy features prominently in the write-ins this year.
Shall we move to the commissioner's race, another big one?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, County Commissioner, District 3, this is East Lewis County. The leader in the clubhouse right now, the incumbent, Scott Brummer, has captured 33.3% of the votes. 1 in 3 voters said, more of this, please.
Yeah.
Michael Hadler, who declined to be interviewed by the Chronicle. Did he do an interview for?
No, I don't even want to mention that. I want to say that Michael Hadler was contacted by us last night, and he gave us a statement, and I appreciate that very much. He was actually the first candidate to provide comment out of all of the races yesterday.
31.69%. So it looks like those two will be moving on. Zach Eckstein.
Yes, correct.
Not the other way to pronounce it, which we have been incorrectly pronouncing it.
I've very purposely, in all conversations, tried to stress that because for a long time I have said Eckstein. I probably said it to his face when he was on the podcast.
Yeah, probably.
With us.
I know I did. I made a joke about it.
Mispronunciation. I also did that at the Tenino parade a couple weeks ago. I just felt horrible about it, and I still can't pronounce the commissioner's name. Carolina. Mejia is what I said, which is incorrect.
Yeah, I have no idea either.
Yeah, I feel like I greatly annoyed her, and I'm sure I annoyed Zach too. So, but yeah, he still pulled 1,700 votes.
Yeah, 22% right now, which, running for a Democrat in Lewis County is pretty good. And we talked about this too. I felt like he ran a very good campaign.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think I told you, I think if he had a couple, if he had been the number two, and if it had been him and Scott Brummer, him and Mike Hadler especially, I feel like he's exhibited over the course of the campaign that he's not really focused on the hot button cultural issues. He's in fact said he's not, and he's been very local, very intentional, very methodical. Seems like he's done a lot of research.
Yeah, his stuff's all been pretty good.
There's been things like he wanted to get rid of the county manager at one point, and he reversed course on that after talking to people. It just seemed like he ran a really good campaign that kind of added to the debate. And in another world, it would have been interesting to see what that looked like against Hadler, for instance, just heading towards the general election. But yeah, good campaign. It was nice to have a Democrat run in my mind. And I know a lot of people will be like, the libs, no. But you need a good, solid exchange of ideas. And I think he proved that you can use your local canvas and not be painting with all the rageful colors of the national debate and be a good candidate. Not a D or an R, just a good candidate.
It's important in elections to have somebody to push the incumbent, and I think Eckstein did that.
Brummer v. Hadler, though, is going to be interesting because Lindsay Pollock is backing Hadler on the commission.
Interesting.
Brummer has long supported a lot of the things that your best friend, Sean Swope, commissioner, has put forward. So there'd be kind of a swap in the power dynamic, I think, if Hadler gets elected. I feel like Hadler-Pollock would be able to determine some things in the same way that Brummer and Swope have, with Pollock being the lone vote on a lot of issues.
We should also mention Kyle Wheeler came in with 5.75% of the vote as of our latest count, and Tim Torber has 7.12% of the vote in that race. What's kind of our third most important?
Well, I don't know about important, but the coroner race was interesting just because Warren McLeod has been our coroner since, 2011 or 2012.
Yeah, I think this is his third term wrapping up.
Fourth, I think. It doesn't matter. 2011 or 2012 or so. 2011, because I believe that election was in 2010. But this is the first time he's been opposed, and one of them is Chelsea Niemczek.
I think.
Who is his chief deputy coroner, and then the other is a former employee of the office, Jessica Stickley. And Warren McLeod, the only incumbent with challengers, more than one challenger to poll over 50%. He got 54%. He might be your lead pipe block.
It certainly looks like
the general election, but he'll have to go against Stickley, who did have 5,500 votes in her favor. So I'd say that's an interesting one, just because you don't very often get any debate over a coroner. You just have one name on there, and you select that name, or you don't, and it doesn't matter. They become coroner.
Yeah, Chelsea Niemczek, very young. She had a very good campaign story, I thought. I thought
so too. Jacob Moore, I thought, did a good job with all three of their stories, and hers was entering the industry. Was it 14? I think.
As an intern, straight up for the love of the game. Yeah. I think she will be coroner at some point.
I also thought it was fun because you could feel it in the interviews, but they're literally the number one. Warren and Chelsea are the number one, the number two at the coroner's office, and you'd think, man, that's got to be awkward, right? But there was really never a sense of that. I mean, in fact, on primary election day on Tuesday, the fair folks were there, and we filmed a video of them. They had to make noises of fair animals based upon what the wheel landed on when they spin it. And Warren McLeod had to do some sort of animal. I don't remember. But, yeah, Chelsea's just sitting right next to him. They're obviously just working together and having a great time.
Yeah.
I would assume that Warren will probably win this election. We'll see. A lot of things could happen. And the next coroner race very possibly could be, Jessica Stickley and Chelsea Niemczek in there.
Yeah, and I would not be surprised. I mean, I would assume that Warren would endorse Niemczek. That would make a lot of sense. But that's a long ways down the road.
Number one in the office. Yeah, I'm not ready to start talking about that yet, Aaron.
All right, that's fine. Never talk about it.
2030.
Yeah, a lot could happen between now and
You'll
then.
be 75 years old then, Aaron.
I will feel like I'm 85 though.
Yeah, that's true.
Auditor's office.
Yeah, that was another interesting one.
We got a good old fashioned Mitch off in the primaries. It looked like, or in the general, it looks like
it's a Mitch off. That's what
Mitchell Merrill got 37.5% of the vote. Mitch Townsend Bigfoot enthusiast, got 36.5% of the vote, and Frank Corbin is trailing behind at 23.8%. So it looks like Townsend v. Merrill in the finale for that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're separated by less than 200 votes, too, so that's another one that could change as far as order. I don't think it will change as far as who goes. I think it will be a Mitch-off, as you said.
Yeah.
It's going to be Mitchin.
Do you have the multi-county totals up for everything else?
We can click through them as we go.
Should we do U.S. Representative Congressional District 3?
Let's save that. Let's do the legislative districts first. This is one that you and I were discussing quite a bit. Joel McIntyre, Republican of the 19th Legislative District, home of Washington State GOP Chairman Jim Walsh.
Never heard of him.
Who advanced handily over a Democrat opponent. Joel is the only incumbent lawmaker, so that includes Walsh, Peter Barno, and Ed Orcutt, who is trailing in his primary, and he's trailing to a Democrat, Terry Carlson.
That's interesting. I've never seen anything from Joel McIntyre on social media over the last few months. Has he been quiet, just pushing his issues?
He hasn't. I think if you go into the comments and you look around, there is what's the German? Schadenfreude?
Schadenfreude?
Yeah, a lot of that going on right now.
Those Germans, they got a word for everything.
And I haven't been very coy about. I'm not a fan of how he behaves himself as a grown man and an elected lawmaker online.
He's a grown man?
Not a fan on how he attacks constituents for disagreeing with him. I'm not a fan of a lot of the things that have happened over the past several years with accounts that, a Twitter account that is Joel McIntyre, but it says awful things and you contact him. Oh, not my official account. Well, one of those pages on Facebook, which is famously not his account, put out a statement that said that Joel would be waiting until he had actual results before he makes a comment. I think if you're Joel McIntyre, you need to, I'm not trying to be mean or opinionated here. You just need to eat some humble pie and take a look at how you've acted on the internet over the past 2 years, which is not something you really have to say about any other lawmaker I'm aware of, maybe the president.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Maybe Joel will realize that he can't cosplay Donald Trump as a junior 19th district lawmaker.
Now, I'm just going to throw this out there. Does he strike you as somebody capable of self-reflection?
I don't know him, so I'm not going to comment. And this, for me, is not about making fun of Joel McIntyre, taking any joy in it. It's just, it feels like a comeuppance. And as you were saying, Joel, in all likelihood, will be fine in the general election. There's two other Republicans that were running in the primary that pulled a combined...
about 14, 15%.
Yeah, almost 4,500 votes, though. If you imagine all those Republicans instead went with Joel, then he won this thing handily. So I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of that. Well, there's 3 Republicans, 1 Democrat. This is a rare thing, though. No matter where you are at, if you're a Democrat or Republican, having a Republican incumbent who has been there for a while trailing to a Democrat in the primary is interesting and a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I agree.
But as you said, I don't know that there will be self-reflection, but maybe if it's a self-reflection mixed with self-preservation and realizing that people are kind of getting... I'll just say, they're getting sick of this shit, man.
Yeah, they are.
You can't jump into the comments of someone who disagrees with you, a constituent. You can, but this might be the result, and mock them for being on food stamps. You can't do that type of stuff.
No.
To me, it's embarrassing, and I don't mean that in a way like he should be embarrassed. I get secondhand embarrassment when I see him in the comments on some of these things.
This is an elected official that represents...
Yeah,
us.
And you and I differ a lot, and you might throw him in the same pot as Jim Walsh, and I've always said I don't really see it. I think there's a reason Jim Walsh also behaves aggressively on the internet and won his handily. I think he is a little bit more tactful. Just a little bit maybe, in your opinion, but there's something different about what Joel's doing and what Jim's doing as conservative elected officials who are online.
You say handily. Walsh got 56% of the vote, which is that's going to be enough, but that is not a blowout.
It's handily, though. You could call it on election night is what I mean by handily.
Okay.
And I return to the fact that you have to have a little... time, some context here. The 19th district was all blue when I came to the Chronicle, and it was for 10, 15 years. And Jim Walsh was the first to break through that and become a a hard red lawmaker in the 19th district.
And he's revitalized Grays Harbor.
And a lot of that, it's not like power of Jim Walsh. It's do you really think your state lawmakers and you're one of 3 state lawmakers is in charge of revitalizing the community? Like that's
no,
not how
of
it
course
works.
not. But if they had, that's a win you could take.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure the mayors and the county commissioners and the city councils and everyone else would really appreciate the load taken off their back if Jim Walsh could personally solve it for them. Anyways, that's just my takeaway on it. That was the most interesting development of the night to this reporter.
Okay. Some other numbers. Peter Barno and Andy Zahn, their totals. Barno's got 65%, Zahn 34, 35. Nothing surprising.
Is that
there.
handily?
Yeah, I think that's handily.
That's handily. What's
I think, look,
your
if
bar
you're
for handily, 56.
I think if you're an
57?
incumbent and you're under 60%, it's.
I see. All right. Well.
Sure.
All right.
I'm not an election specialist like you.
I'm not a specialist. Please. I didn't even win the pool here at the office.
Oh, that's true.
Even though I have called shenanigans because it has not been.
You got to wait till all the ballots are counted.
I want everything
There's got to
counted.
be some curing done with those ballots as well.
That makes me want to jump to the congressional race, but
We'll get there in a second. Ed Orcutt's got 62% over Evan Jones, his challenger. Nothing surprising there either, I don't think.
no, I would assume Orcutt and Abarno are probably. I mean, I know both of them are going to run their campaigns and treat it like they should, but I would assume they're both returning for new terms.
Shall we get to the last one?
It's the last one. Is it the congressional race?
The congressional race, yes.
Yeah, interesting. You discussed curing ballots. Let's just pretend this is the general election because it's not, but it's the primary. Had we instituted all of these wonderful ideas that President Trump has for our elections, such not all of them, just one. You stop counting on election night. In that case, Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez would be the first place finisher in the 2026 primary. The embattled incumbent, if you will, prevailed over John Braun, who still will move on to the primary. That would have been the story. Mm-hmm. John Braun is now in the lead.
He's up to 39.3%.
He's up 3,000 votes over Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez after trailing on election night, after the second tally today of eligible and legally submitted ballots that were either dropped in the drop box or arrived via mail with a postmark by election day. And
fraudulent.
John Braun is now in first place. So I just wanted it feels important in this moment to say that.
Where does Braun stand on that?
There is a letter to the editor that asks that as well. We've asked questions about that as well, and I'm sure in the next 3 months he will be asked heavily. I don't say any of that as a shot at John Braun. He's been nothing but transparent, available, and moderate on most things, I would say, in our dealings with him in our newsroom. So it's not an attack to say that. I just want to point out that the current rules that we have work, which I've been saying forever, and they work just fine. John Braun was trailing on election night, and now he's in front, and I can bet you $100 that Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez isn't going to start shouting, "Stop the steal."
Maybe she should.
This race is rigged. You should have been over on election night. This is the normal way that Washington's elections play out, and in this case, it appears to be benefiting the Republican. These late arriving ballots.
She didn't call Larry Grove and say, "You find me 4,000 votes."
I didn't hear anything of that, and she could still pull ahead too. Who knows? But anyways, no surprise here. I think everybody pretty much assumed it would be MGP and John Braun moving on.
Brett Henrick, the Democrat looking to primary Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez, pulled in 16% of the votes, so it's worth considering, as we have in the other races, where those 16% of votes are going to go. If you are somebody who supports Henrick, do you think you're more likely to vote for Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez or John Braun?
Or not vote at all is the other option.
Does that really happen,
I don't know. I mean, I think it happens. Brent Henrich immediately, and I think he might have deleted it because I couldn't find it when I went to look for it this morning. But last night, after it became apparent that he would not be advancing, he was very strong in his assertion that he will not be endorsing MGP. He used wording like, "I'm not going to get, endorse something that's going to get us stabbed in the back again." And I mean, just as a resident, that type of thinking seems like the type of thinking that will give John Braun the seat in Congress.
Yeah,
if played out to its ultimate finality. So yeah, I don't know how many people go that way, because if you look at it as they all swing back into Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez's, and John Braun doesn't get a huge boost from the other candidates that pulled in some votes, then it looks good for MGP. But Braun makes the case that 60% of the voters did not vote for the incumbent, and I think he's going to lean into that, and he thinks he can collect some of those voters.
We shall see. General election is what, November?
In that race,
5th?
yeah, in that race too, they both had statements afterwards, and it's very clear that for Gluesenkamp-Perez, she's going to try to win by beating John Braun over the head with Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. She's going to stress the fact that she's won 2 elections in a district that has twice elected her at the same time that the majority voted for Trump in the district, and that is in clear evidence in her mind that the district does not like Trump, even if they lean Republican. It's kind of a weird argument, right?
I mean, yeah, but it's worked for her so far.
It's played out twice. I mean,
Yeah.
she can show her work on that one. So we'll see how it goes. And then I think what to watch with John Braun is I do think he's been a fairly moderate Republican in the state legislature. A lot of people wouldn't agree with that, but I think he has, and through his actions, through the topics he's tackled. And so I'm curious how far to the right he'll get pushed during this, like both how he's perceived and described by the Democrats, and both how, like, where he takes his policies, because we don't know a lot about federal policies with him. He's a brand new guy in some respects. So you're going to be able to ask, like, what do you think about Iran? What do you think about mail-in voting? What do you think about this?
Is affordability real? It's interesting that Braun is planning to court some of those theoretical Democrat voters that voted for Henrik, given he's had a column in this newspaper for the last several years in which every title is, "Look what the Democrats did wrong."
Right, but his column was always focused on the state legislature, and I think there's a good number of people, including letter writer of the year in My People's Champion of the Week, Michael Bannon, who wrote a letter to the editor. I think reasonable minds will agree that on the state level, the Democrats have done a terrible, horrible, awful job of managing the budget. Like, there's no other way to look at it. You can't just show up every year when the results of your work have played out and be like, oops, we need another $15 billion. Like, I mean, at least be fair in the criticism, both sides. Like, criticizing the Dems there in the state and then on the federal level are two different things. And I have to say, just as the editor who looked at these columns every single time, it seems like Braun went out of his way not to comment on national things. And almost every single column, if not every single column, was about Olympia and not Washington, D.C.
All right, fair enough. This podcast is sponsored by Goebel Septic, The Roof Doctor, Americool Heating and Air Conditioning, CrossCounty Mortgages, Jacek Gillispie, and The Farm Store. I don't have a lot for segments. Maureen Harcum wrote a column for Tales from the Takes page on learning from a fountain of knowledge at Burnt Ridge Nursery. She toured a nursery. She said they were offering a tour, so I said, what the hell?
It was really good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. That's the Burnt Tree Nursery out there in Onalaska.
Yeah,
and,
Burnt Ridge.
What did I say?
You said Burnt Tree.
Oh, I combined Rain Tree Nursery and Burnt Ridge Nursery. Oh, wow. Yeah, Burnt Ridge Nursery. Anything we ever write about that place is really well received by the readers, so I'm taking it's a very popular place. And Maureen wrote very well about all the cool things they do there, which is no surprise. She is this podcast's favorite columnist, I believe.
That's true.
Besides maybe Brian Mitke. But you've soured on Brian Mitke, so.
Only on certain topics.
I see.
Well, let's see. We don't have a new history column yet, do we?
No, we'll have one well, we did have one Friday, but I guess you can pull it up
Did
here.
we podcast Friday? When did we podcast last?
I don't know.
A week ago?
I don't remember.
We don't need to get to it. We're already longer than we'd expected to be here.
I do have a Sirens Banger of the Week.
Is it the one I've got listed here?
I don't have that.
Is there a bow and arrow involved?
No, let's not make light of that one.
All right, fair enough.
This one also involves a child. There was a post by the Centralia Police Department. This is only funny because where we both live. On August 4th, 2026, the depicted juvenile took a $900 dirt bike, leaving behind his bicycle in the area of West Oakview Ave. This is out on the west. This is out on the Wanch Prairie of Centralia. The Centralia Police Department is attempting to identify this juvenile and reunite both bikes with the proper owners. And the kid, I don't know how old that kid is. He could be anywhere from like 8 to 11.
I was thinking he was like 10, 11 maybe. But you look at the kid and you're like, you know what? That looks like a 9-year-old just like, hell yeah, I'm stealing this dirt bike.
I mean, yeah. It's the kid's so young that you don't really want to. My gut reaction wasn't like, oh, how dare he? Which maybe it still should have been. And maybe the kid should be punished. Probably did get punished. But that seemed to be generally the reaction of the commentariat as well. It was just like, that's some moxie. Just driving, riding your bicycle along, and like, oh, that bike's way nicer.
He's just operating on video game logic. You know, you come along with a motorcycle and you're like, hell yeah, upgrade.
So we've all had things we're not supposed to have at home, and we all try to hide them, right, as kids? Like, where do you hide your dirt bike that you just lifted from? Like,
also, like, do you think his parents heard him pull up on it?
I got a lot of questions. They posted this, and I got to say, we had to have been within 30 minutes. They replaced the image, or they posted over the image with the dirt bike has been located and the juvenile has been identified.
Well, I'm sure it wasn't too hard to find.
Somebody's mom was innocently scrolling Facebook and saw the face of their own child on the Centralia Police Department, and we're like, son of a bitch.
God damn it.
Anyways, that's my Sirens Banger.
I like that one. People's Champion of the Week, should we just go with Larry Grove and our hardworking Lewis County election officials?
No, I'm not. I've already picked mine.
Okay,
and I'm
what
sorry.
do you got?
I'm
Joel
saving the general. I'm saving the general election. We can already just say it's going to be Larry Grove. He will be our People's Champion of the Week when that's done.
All right.
You'd have to pick something huge. But our People's Champion of the Week for this week is Michael Bannon, letter writer, who wrote the most on-point banger of a letter I have ever read in my life about the state. I'm trying to find it. That's why I'm kind of delaying here. Oh, yeah. Dear Washington State, let your citizens dig you out of this financial mess. You know how emotional I get about my nicotine pouches, so... let's see, I'm just going to go to a couple lines here. He opened with the lyric, if you try to sit, I'll tax your seat. If you get too cold, I'll tax the heat. If you take a walk, I'll tax your feet because I'm the tax man, the old George Harrison lyrics from Taxman. And then he wrote, this state begged us to stop smoking because of the health problems it causes. When citizens switched to nicotine pouches to help quit smoking, you put a 95% tax on them so you could fund your spending. You begged us to drive electric vehicles, so I leased one. Well, now I'm paying your gas tax, so you decide to tax me $225 for my registration. Washington, you're sending mixed signals, pal. Is it about our health or the environment? A budget doesn't work when you commit to a bunch of expenditures, then shake down your citizens to pay for it. The Revolutionary War started because of these very same actions. I was overjoyed by this letter as someone who has been critical of the state's spending habits.
I hope that the next time I see Bannon, he has a 1776 tattoo down his forearm.
You know, next time you see Bannon, you give him one of these
challenge
coins that we've been handing out.
Should we invite him on as part of the special for 300?
I wanted to invite him on just to read his letter to the editor performatively as he meant, because I'm sure there's a certain tone. I'm like very kind of like a fan of the text, you know? Like I'd love to see the author show up and just do a reading. I thought it was really good.
You have a live reading schedule?
I was so excited about that letter.
All right. Yeah, this is a good letter.
It was well written and well done. Just appreciated it.
I don't have any Facebook comments of the week. I'm sure you could find some featuring at least one of the candidates involved in the discussion we just had.
Yeah.
If you so desire, you can find plenty of comments from him.
You can find plenty of the news, too. We don't need to really run through headlines. Most of it was election-related. I mean, we've got a lot of good local news that's not election-related as well, but we'll save that for another podcast. If it's worthy, it'll reemerge. You got to let the headlines go and see if they come back.
All right. So, yeah, we'll wrap it up there. In closing, we're sponsored by Goebel Septic, The Roof Doctor, Americool Heating and Air Conditioning, CrossCounty Mortgage with Jacek Gillispie, and The Farm Store. Leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcast if you want, or send us an email at chroniclenewsdump@gmail.com.
Winter came hard.